To help us round out our full conference, we have asked Erin Martin to come and give us a presentation. And Erin is the director of the Tulsa Food as Medicine. And she's going to review a couple projects that she's working on. You might be thinking to yourself, why are we talking about Oklahoma and Tulsa? But the program that she has, we can replicate here in Kansas. So if you'd like to join me in welcoming Erin Martin to the stage, and we'll get going.
Thank you, Jessica. Well, take a seat. You're in for a treat. This should be pretty interesting and a little bit out of the box. The reason why we're talking about this is this Food as Medicine program only sources regenerative fruits and vegetables. And I want to share with you today why farmers like yourselves are the future of medicine in this country. So I started off working in a retirement community when I was 15, and I saw people on 15 to 32 prescription drugs. And that was really confusing to me because that's not a natural part of aging, and actually disease is not even a natural part of aging. And I was learning this while also seeing people on 15 to 32 prescription drugs. And I saw what kind of food they had access to and what insurance paid for and what insurance didn't pay for. And that was really confusing to me. And so I was able to actually start studying soil science and the impact on aging. And I realized that over the last 100 years, we have depleted our soils incredibly. And so we are not getting the nutrients from the soils into the plants, which then is transporting and really creating these deficiencies in people's lives and creating all these chronic conditions. How many people know somebody with a chronic condition? Diabetes, cancer, COPD, kidney failure. So everybody probably does, right? So your work is so incredible. This impacts not only the soil and all of these practices that we've been talking about, but it impacts everybody that you love, including yourself. So I have gone all the way from human health to understanding that soil is public health. And I've actually been invited to a ton of agricultural conferences this year. I was the keynote at No-Till on the Plains, and I want to commend agriculture for having someone from a human health perspective. And actually, public health and long-term care and healthcare is super late to the game because agriculture is public health. And until we start realizing that, we're going to continue to have a lot of problems. How many people in here grow their own vegetables on their farm? A lot of you, that's awesome. So I will talk a little bit about what I'm doing in the world and why this matters to you and how we could replicate this here in Kansas. And I believe that the biggest lie that we've been told is that we are separate from the earth. It's a little deceiving because our skin and our bodies is kind of separate from the earth, right? But we're not. We're much bigger than ourselves, and my energy affects your energy, and what we're doing to the soil affects ourselves. And so we really need to obliterate this notion that we are separate from anything. We are stewards of the land. Would we change to appreciating quantity over quality? That's immediately how we have seen our human experience deplete tremendously. This has affected our mental health incredibly. Suicide rates are at an all-time high. All of these things have to do with being separated from the food that heals us and that connects us. And we already know that soil organic matter should be 10% or more, and it's been depleted. And so we've talked about this a lot over the last 2 days, so we won't go into too much of that. But as a direct result, the mineral depletion in vegetables, this is a study from 1940 to 1991. They took an average of 27 kinds of vegetables, and we've had 30 years since this study's done, so we've probably done a lot more damage, but you can see the incredible decline. And in meat, copper down by 76%. So the food that you're getting, your grandparents used to be able to get a certain amount of vitamin A and a certain amount of vitamin C from an orange. Today you have to eat 8 oranges to get that. But what's so incredible and what gave me hope for the first time is everything, it looks pretty depressing, like healthcare, agriculture, it's just really crumbling. But regenerative agriculture means we can not only restore this amount of nutrients in our food, we have the power to increase it. And that means increasing health outcomes and our quality of life. Because who wants to live a long life on 32 prescription drugs, on different machines, just wasting away? Nobody wants to do that. Everyone wants to have longevity, but they want quality in that longevity. And so that's what we can create together. And that's what you guys are doing great soil health practices. So that's the big impact. And I hope this really inspires you to keep going and realizing that this not only impacts reducing your inputs and increasing your profit, but it's also benefiting every single person and every single animal on this planet. So as these nutrients have been depleted from the soil health practices, look how skyrocketed our health care is. All these chronic conditions, cancer, mental health, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, pulmonary conditions, stroke, all up incredible percentage. And with these comes prescription drugs, which when you're taking prescription drugs, they also strip you of the minerals and nutrients you're getting from your food if there's any in it. And our food is also being shipped from a long ways away. And for a lot of fruits and vegetables, they lose up to 30 to 50% of their nutrients within 72 hours. Within 24 hours, spinach loses 95% of its nutrients. So if it's not local, it's not likely to be nutrient dense. And if it's not grown regeneratively, it probably is less likely to have as many nutrients. So local and regenerative is the way of the future. And medicine is starting to catch on. There's this coalition I just started following. They're health professionals for regenerative agriculture. And that is really exciting to hear, because it is my belief that as we move forward and more things are opened up, that insurance will be paying you for your nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables, which we're still trying to define what nutrient density is, and I'm not going to try to tackle that today. But converting to soil health practices can change all of these things. It has this giant ripple effect to change our lives drastically. And I'm going to tell you how I've been doing that with people in a very low-income area who do not have access to fruits and vegetables, and how we've stimulated local farmers and local economy at the same time. Health outcomes and local farmers equals a tremendous healing in our communities. So nutrient density, we know because of Dan Kittredge's work, Bionutrient Association, there is a huge wide range and continuum of not every blueberry is created equal, right? Actually, spinach ranges between 365 to 1. That means you could have to be eating 365 pieces of it, the most nutrient less food, and those many pieces that you could be getting nutrients of the same in just one piece of spinach. So just think how inefficient we are eating. And the reason why we just keep eating and we have all this obesity is because we don't have nutrients. Your body and your brain will keep eating because it's not satiated. It doesn't have all the nutrients that it needs. So the more nutrient-dense food that we can create, and it's more likely, if it's local and nutrient and regenerative, to be more nutrient-dense. So that's why I choose to source that way. And your tongue knows. That's the first test, is that it tastes so much better. And you'll see that people in our program taste the food, and it tastes good. It's like vegetables they've never even had in their entire life. I've seen the most beautiful sweet potatoes. It's like there's these purple, pinkish sweet potatoes. They taste incredible. And so if you have good tasting vegetables, people might be more likely to eat them and then be more healthy. So FreshRx is a food prescription program in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where doctors prescribe local regenerative fruits and vegetables to people with uncontrolled type 2 diabetes. A lot of metrics that are really looked at with diabetes is the A1C rate. So they stop really measuring that at a 14. If you're over an 8 of your A1C, then you are at extreme risk for stroke, death, amputation. So we chose to look at this food desert where we have the highest rates of death in the state of Oklahoma from diabetes, and our goal was to reduce someone's A1C by 1 to 2% in the year. This would equate to $16,000 to $24,000 in healthcare cost savings if we achieve this goal. There's over 200 prescription produce programs in the United States that have been done or are being done, but ours is unique because we only source local regenerative food. A lot of these programs source from a food bank or something of that nature. Now, any increase in vegetable consumption is going to be beneficial. But it is my argument that we have been more successful and have exceeded our goals because we have integrity in how we source. So we have a cohort of about 20 local farmers. Every 2 weeks, 365 days a year, every 2 weeks, they provide about 2 to 3 crops. There could be 6 to 8 producers that provide for that. So we have a wide range of different kinds of vegetables and some fruit that we provide. And then individuals get cooking classes, recipe cards, and they also get nutrition classes. So we started with 52 people in the North Tulsa area. This is a very low-income area. They didn't have a grocery store for 14 years. And so that's what we did. This is Dr. Farish who initiated this program. We started with 2 clinics in North Tulsa, and now we are partnered with 6 clinics and up to 15 primary care physicians who are prescribing local farmers specialty crops. And this is a video of our graduation from the first cohort.
A Tulsa program that provides local produce and cooking lessons to people with type 2 diabetes celebrated its first graduating class today. Fresh RX has helped 30 participants lower their A1C levels and collectively lose 290 pounds. The organization's director, Erin Martin, is ecstatic with how well the participants have done this first year.
We had 18 out of those 30 fall from uncontrolled diabetes to controlled diabetes.
Fresh RX is a program designed to help those with uncontrolled type 2 diabetes by providing them with free fresh fruit and vegetables, digital lifestyle cooking, and nutrition classes. Their goal to help participants reduce their A1C levels will help to save the state anywhere from $16,000 to $24,000 per participant per year.
So the cost, the return of investment is huge. It's totally worth it.
Fresh RX is not only helping those with diabetes, but also helping others in the community. They use local, regenerative, and nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables while boosting local economies and helping local farmers.
That took off a lot of pressure for my business to know that whatever I produced would be sold and it would go to people that really appreciated it.
Rachel Summers is the owner of Resilient Growers that started in the fall of 2020. Her and her husband wanted to start farming to help change the way conventional vegetable farming looked and help others in the community.
When you eat those crops, those high quality crops, your gut is fed what it needs to be fed, and your immune system in turn kind of supports you a little bit more.
This year's graduates say they are excited to see the progress that has come from the program and look forward to continuing to implement it into their lifestyles.
And the value that they give you, it just empowers you to take better care of yourself and do better.
Fresh RX wants to continue helping North Tulsans in their battle against type 2 diabetes and has already raised $300,000 to help expand next year's program to 100 participants. In Tulsa, Jaden Brannon, Oklahoma's Own, News on 6.
So that graduation was really impactful because farmers were there giving their testimonies on why they actually survived the pandemic, because they had a market, a wholesale market that they could sell their crops to. They don't have to go to a farmer's market and sit there all day. I'm going to buy their produce every 2 weeks. And if it's in between, I'm going to find a place for it. And if there's any overages, I'm going to make sure that we can get it into the community and I have it sold. So if there's any discretion in how much I can get someone else to pay for it, I take that loss. I raise the money and make sure that the farmers have a consistent market to sell these crops to. And we've actually stimulated many, many farmers to be confident to grow more food, to grow a larger diversity of crops, and to be able to continue. The NRCS denied 4 of our farmers for a hoop house. I got on the phone, Jimmy Emmons is one of my buddies, and we got on the phone with NRCS, FSA, and USDA, and magically, 3 weeks later, all 4 of our farmers were funded for a hoop house. And we make sure, because without our farmers, this program does not have integrity and it does not continue. And we don't have any shortage of sick people. We have a shortage of local food that's nutrient dense and grown with beautiful soil health practices. And so it is our job to stimulate this as a result. And we've become a source of an aggregation so people can come and actually buy from us after we give out from our participants. So there's no concern to over-harvest or over-plant. That is completely eliminated. And now with the local food purchasing grant that the food bank has received, and in many states have received, they can buy any overages. And we help educate them on what prices they probably should be buying at and not Walmart prices. So we're somewhere between kind of a farmer's market price and Walmart at a wholesale rate for these farmers. And the farmers get to dictate what they charge. And it is really important that we support them. And so a big part is, that's what we do, is advocacy for that, and had a lot of great success. So this is some collard greens that our farmer never had a market for at the farmer's market, but all of our participants want collard greens. So she was able to grow a ton of collard greens, and they went fast, so now she knows she can grow more, and that's really exciting. Here's another couple of our farmers. And so they talked a little bit about the data on the video, but I want to go back over that. So we had 52 participants in the first year, 40 of which stayed with the program for the entire 12 months. 30 out of 40 had some type of reduction in their A1C. Our goal was 1 to 2% in the year. Our average reduction among those 30 people was 2.2%, which means we saved the state of Oklahoma nearly $1 million with $150,000. The ROI makes total sense. Just like it does to have good soil health practices, this translates directly, same deal. So now all of our funders were like, okay, they have some data, they're doing some health outcomes, it's working. We measure A1C, blood pressure, and weight, and so collectively the cohort lost 296 pounds, and a lot of people came off of their insulin shots. People were healthier, happier, less depressed, less anxious, and it was because of the medicinal food that our growers grew. And so now we've grown to 100 new participants with the 6 clinics, and we've actually raised enough money to be funded through 2025. I can't tell you which federal entity yet has funded us, but we got the ceiling amount with a federal grant, and so we'll be able to continue and expand and really create a franchise model to go in and equip other communities and create local food systems as a result of this program. So, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Hippocrates said it best. And this is such a powerful image right here. Does anyone know what this is? No? Okay, so this is a form of corn known as, there's a couple names, but rainbow corn is one of them. So we have created really healthy food long ago. Indigenous folks really curated and they domesticated crops so we could eat them. And they worked really hard over a long period of time to create corn that produces 18% protein and has tons of trace minerals and all the good things, instead of the corn we know today, which turns to starch and sugar. So really bringing back some of these crops that we have access to now, seeds, and getting farmers to grow some of these more culturally appropriate foods. And it's been really a big blessing to work with Al Toop. Some of you may know him, and he actually helps to curate some of these indigenous seeds for us. So we talked a lot in the last 2 days on how to create a legacy. Farmers really care about that, the legacy of their land and building their soil organic matter. And I want to challenge you also to leave a legacy for your children and your grandchildren of your own health, because they're looking to you for an example on how you treat yourself. If you want things to reflect. If you're doing good soil health practices, let that reflect in your diet. More fruits and vegetables, that's it. Doesn't mean you have to change a bunch of stuff, but more whole foods is really important, and it will absolutely, it will make your life so much easier. If anyone has inflammation, anyone's back hurts, knee hurt, arthritis, having processed foods and not whole foods increases your inflammation. It also increases anxiety and depression. When your gut doesn't have healthy food going into it from healthy soil, You actually, with new research, they say you have brain cells in your gut, and it actually translates to depression and makes your thoughts really negative. And then we have people committing suicide at an astronomical rate. All these things are connected. So leave a legacy not only to your land, but to yourselves, because our soil is ourselves. We are not disconnected, as a part of us, and without it, we do not exist. So thank you so much for listening. This is my contact information. If you want to know more about FreshRx, you can go to our website here. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, you can follow me at Expert on Aging or FreshRx OK. And if you're interested in potentially being a supplier for a Kansas pilot program, please reach out to me. We have some conversation about that, and we can open it up for questions.
Erin, I have a question. Do you have any large-scale producers or grain producers down in Oklahoma that have converted to specialty crop production because of this program? And how are they doing that maybe? Are they doing the corners? Are they doing chaos? Or how are they doing it?
Most of our farmers are small and medium-sized farmers, so we don't have any large people growing yet, but we have a lot of people that have said they'd love to just do like 1 acre. Even a 1/4 acre can produce a ton of vegetables. And so as we grow beyond 100 people, we'll need to engage them in those conversations.
Any other questions for Erin? I have a couple more. And I'll put Keith Burns on the spot too. One thing that we talk about, and I don't know if Keith mentioned this in his presentation, is chaos farming. And the way that I understand it is that you have a particular area on your operation that you set aside for food production. And Keith has a blend. And Keith, can you tell us what's in this blend? The whole goal of it is for food production, and it's all of the seeds are grown together. So I'll let Keith talk a little bit about chaos.
Okay, it used to be called chaos, but we're no longer chaotic. It's called the Milpa Garden now, which is a Mesoamerican term that the indigenous people there still use. Actually, we actually had one of the a man who's still practicing this type of growing. One of the Mayans in Belize came to our farm and visited, and it was just a really great visit. So basically what this mix is, it's got about 60 different things in it, and about 30 of them are vegetables, different squashes, pumpkins, cucumbers, anything that we think we can get out there to grow some sort of produce or food. You saw the gourds and the pumpkins that Michael Thompson had in his pictures. We throw some of those in there as well. So the goal is just to get it out on some acres and to grow as much food as you can, harvest that, and then donate it to the local food bank. For anybody that's willing to do that, we'll give them the first acre of seed for free. And with all those vegetables and stuff in there, it's kind of expensive seed. It's about $100 an acre. But if you're willing to say, we'll donate at least 50% of what we harvest, we'll give you the first acre's worth of seed for free. So plenty of information on our website about that. There's an article in our Soil Health Resource Guide about that. And it really started with an Oklahoma program. Jimmy Emmons and those guys really showed the value of how that could work. And then we took that idea and said, everybody should be doing this. Jimmy shouldn't have all the fun. So that's kind of how it started.
I forgot we're supposed to stand on stage. So years ago, I was very fortunate to be able to help a group of citizens in Pratt, Kansas start a farmer's market. And I think the best way to kind of conclude what we're talking about today is if you are considering growing food for nutrient-dense crops for people to eat, think about that Pratt Farmers Market down there on Main Street at Merchants Park. Think of yourself as, you might not be setting up a booth and, selling your gourds every single week, but there's a lot of options. There's a lot of different ways that we can continue to regenerate soil, and this is just one of them. So, yeah, anything else? Any other questions that you typically get from farmers?
I just want to add that, produce prescription programs right now are grant funded, but there is something that has been legalized federally through Medicare and Medicaid called medically tailored meals. And these are pre-made meals, but some of the providers do source local food. And so I believe that this is paving the way for more produce prescription programs to be paid for by insurance, which means Blue Cross Blue Shield could be paying you. And that's really the way that I think it should go. And I think that will be happening in the next five years probably. It's going to be happening pretty quick. Health professionals are starting to understand that soil health dictates their patients' success. And so we're going to need all of you guys to grow more vegetables. And if you have a great market that can pay wholesale, then why not? Yes, sir. It's just a lot of discussion right now. We have some seed money promised, and just looking for a way to kind of execute that. We'll have to raise more money to do that, but definitely would focus on a low-income food desert area. Could be in there's several in Kansas, so really we're gonna have to be assessing need. But if anyone's interested, it still could be 6 months to a year before that's executed. But there's a lot of interest from Kansas farmers that I've talked to over the last 10 months that would love to be involved with that. And I hope to see it go everywhere. I've had people in North Carolina, Mississippi. I've had meetings with the Secretary of Public Health in Kansas, the Secretary of Ag, all on the same call, and all really want to see this happen. So just keep talking about it, and if you have friends or family or coworkers that are involved in legislation or have relationship with legislators or any other foundations, please let us know. We would love to make it happen in Kansas.
Yeah, and I'll just say that it's not for lack of effort on our part. We're having a lot of conversations right now, but we need this to come from you. We need you to tell your leaders, your lawmakers, that I have the ability to produce more than just corn and beans and wheat. And we need to be able to break down some of those barriers that are keeping us from doing that. So we definitely need this to be a farmer-led movement so that we can help produce some of this specialty crops. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so we could use all the help.
Yeah, and if you want to talk with me more privately, I'll be back over under the Fresh RX sign over there near Region Ag Lab and be happy to talk to you more. And I know this is kind of it's a new concept, but it's coming and we're going to need you guys. So thanks for doing the great work that you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.